Well, hello loves, and happy Sunday to you. So today we're going on a journey of texture. We're going to experiment with a couple of things super easy to do with texture and begin a new series that I'll do once a month to explore some texture making possibilities. And I'll do it all in a journal specifically made for my texture experiments. So I am so glad to have you here. If you're new to me, I'm Shawn Petite, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm excited to go on this journey of texture with you. One of my students in the membership, she actually gave me the idea. She said, I would love for you to do just a series of texture making. And she said, I have a specific journal for all of my texture making experiments. And she explained why, which I thought was a phenomenal why. And I'm going to hijack that and share it with you with her permission. But she said when she gets overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do, she can go back to her texture journal or whatever journal and refer to it, and it gives her ideas and helps her move forward. And I am all about that. That is my thing. Like, let's put the fear aside, all those things that, we make when we doubt ourselves. And that journal and that practice is one phenomenal way to do that. And I have done that for years, but for some reason, I haven't done it with texture, which seems crazy to me because I love texture. So we're going to be doing a fun, easy texture making technique today. A couple of things I want to tell you before we dive in. The texture technique that we're doing is actually one that we do in a new workshop that I have available for you. It's called Rusty Bits. I'll have a photo right here. It is deliciously grungy, and we do some really different type of techniques to create texture and grunge. We do some rusting. We also do some faux rust, because I know not everybody has rusty stuff. It was so fun, and it's really easy because we layer and layer. We create all of our elements and then we just layer it. So there's very little panic when we get to putting the project together. It's just all goodness. And the layers of what we do are like the layers of our story. There's a lot of meaning, and I refer to your story as you're putting your projects together. And so I thoroughly enjoyed this. It is, it was in the membership. I'm putting it out into the world for all of those who are not members, and they have loved it and have loved the grungy goodness of the things that we do. So that is available. And then the other thing that I want to let you know is available is the Creative Reset. Now, I did a free Creative Reset for just 10 days, and so many of you have said, I'd really like to purchase. Can I purchase it so that I can go back through it? And I will tell you that we had about 300 people sign up for it for free. And the things that I've heard that have come from it have just been phenomenal. And how it just opened up so many possibilities. It helped people let go of fear. And Creative Reset is just that. We're talking about resetting and rethinking the act of creating, and it's play. It's all about play. It's finding our why, finding the things that bring us joy, and we use those to help play, not create anything like huge and magical. Just play in our Creative Reset journal. So those two are available now for you. The Rusty Bits is on early bird pricing for $49, and then the Creative Reset, not doing an early bird pricing. I'm just going to keep it at a low price of $37 so that if you want to get in, you can get in. Okay, enough of that stuff. Let's get to the good stuff. Okay, so out here on my table, I just want to give you an example of some of the journal keeping that I do that we're going to start. This is going to be my texture making journal. And I have journals for everything. This is like all abstract play. And these are for my learning process. So I write, and I think I've shared this with you guys before, but like, what do I like about this? What did I use? You know, those kinds of things. All different. I mean, I go into a lot of detail. Some I haven't fully looked at yet, but some are just, let's see, the back ones here. I just go to town experimenting on so many things, and I'm writing down my recipes and all of that. So I have, these are all like abstracts and abstract kind of things. This one, let's see. Okay, I have like new supply journal where I try out all different supplies or supplies that have been on my shelf for a while that I haven't used. I just keep trying them and then color samples. Like when I swatch out the palette of products that I have. So I have all those kinds of things, and then how do they work? So I have that to refer to, which I do often. When I'm stuck, when I'm like, I don't know, like this was a new pen that I got. So I have that journal. I mean, this is a casual confidence journal, which is very similar to the Creative Reset, but with a little bit more detail, like in-depth kind of thing. But again, I go into, it's all practice, and these are all starting points and ideas for, when I get stuck, what do I do? Well, I can examine my work, or I can look at mark making, or I can, I can talk to myself about fear and procrastination. And then we just try everything and play. And I have all kinds of journals like that. Why don't I have a texture journal? And then this is my Creative Reset journal. And again, we get some whys and what to create. Color. We go over color. We go over composition. And I have all of this, and I write all of these recipes and things down so that when, again, I am stuck, I can find some inspiration. So I want to give you that example. That's what I'm going to do for our texture journal. And once a month, I will be doing some type of texture technique to add to my journal and, fill that up. Okay, so for today's texture technique, this is a super simple one, and but it's one of my favorites. And sometimes the easiest things are the best things. Truly, honestly. I'm doing this on brown paper so that you can see what I'm doing. And then I have the dried version over here, and we'll age it up and do some experimenting. But, and I've already labeled everything, and I will continue to label. So if we add different colors on some of these sheets, I'm going to put down those colors. So that I remember, because this is when we're stuck, we can go back and go, oh, that's the thing I need, whatever it might be. So I have 4 different sheets. I have 4 different tools. And this one. Okay, so I have 4 different sheets and 4 different tools. I have just plain old regular gesso. Okay, sorry for the dogs barking. That's a usual thing. 2 studio puppies. Okay, so I've got my 4 tools. I've got my regular old gesso. Not thick, not anything special. And I've got my palette out here that's dirty, which I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to put my gesso out here. Okay, so I am going to start with, not the brayer. I have these in order. Credit card, shaper, palette knife. Okay, credit card. Let's do that one first. I've just got a regular old credit card. Nothing fancy. I'm going to dip my credit card in. I'm going to kind of pounce it off a little bit. And I'm going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to lay it down and just drag it. And this is brown paper. It's unprimed. It's raw. And that's what I did on this. Is just copy paper. And I just want to lay this down. Just like that. I'm looking for those skips. I'm looking for that in between. So like this is real thick. I'm not real thrilled about that. So I'm going to kind of pick some of that up. And really, honestly, it doesn't matter too much. But I want those skips because that's what's going to give me my interesting texture. And when you do this, when I start out, I can push down and I'll get more coverage. If I lift up, I get more skipping. And so there are areas that maybe I want a little bit more. I'll do that. I'll come across here and maybe try and blur out some of those hard lines. And that looks pretty good. Okay, super simple. And it's with things that you have, and that's one of the things I love. Okay, next one is just a palette knife. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to load up my palette knife. And I'm going to place my palette knife. The more flat I place it on my surface, the more skipping I will get. Or the more medium I will get on. So you can see I've got it nice and flat. And then it starts to skip. So I'll come back and kind of fill that in. And I can put the palette knife on its side, but I get a different result. If I lay it flat, I get a thicker result. So I'm just gonna, I want to do a little bit of both. I want some thicker and some thinner. And you could do this with, heavier gesso, but it's nice to have a lot of different options when you're creating texture. And this is less expensive. It's stuff that we have on hand, which I like because it doesn't require any extra anything. Okay, so that's the palette knife. Silicone shaper. This one really surprised me. And I did it differently. So I in the previous ones, I kind of went up and down. This one, I kind of just moved it around. And I was really actually surprised by how it felt and looked. It felt a little bit more free. And yes, I've got some, lines, and I'll go back over and kind of smooth some of those things out. And same with the silicone shaper. If I push down harder, I'll get more of a solid line. But if I kind of let it lightly glide across the surface, I get some really good skipping. And so I can kind of go back over any areas that maybe feel a little light. And voila, that I like. Okay, and then the brayer. This one also surprised me. I'm going to put a little bit more out here. I'm going to load up my brayer. And again, I'm not pressing down very hard at all. And see, you can see some I have some real thick areas. I'm going to leave those. Because again, that's going to add some depth or dimension or whatever. But I was really surprised with how fast, one, this is, but how kind of freeing it feels. And the best thing to do too, and which is hard for me, is don't overwork it. I have a tendency to keep going until it's I don't have any bare space left, and I need the bare space to show off the texture. That's part of the technique. So keep it light. I mean, like I started to kind of go back over this, and I was like, don't do it. So like I want to go over this. I don't want to. I just want to leave it. Just let it be. Because it's texture. It's not supposed to be anything, like a picture. Okay, so those are the 4 techniques that I did. Now I've got the dry example, and I'll go in order of how I put them down. So this was credit card. Okay, so this is my credit card. And I am going to use raw umber for this first one because it's going to show off the wonderfulness of this technique. I just use these words, wonderfulness. And I'm going to grab a 1-inch flat brush, and I'm going to grab a towel. And remember, this is just regular copy paper, not primed. It's just raw copy paper. That's the key. And this I used high flow because it's already fluid, and I can water it down just a little bit more and get some gliding happening over this. And I just want to kind of cover this whole thing, working quickly. And get this first layer down. Making sure that it's all covered. Okay? And then I'll come back with my clean rag in a clean spot, and I will just pick this up lightly. But do you see the raw paper, how important that is? Now because I was a little heavy-handed on this, I don't have as much skipping as, let's see, this is the one that I did with you. There's more empty spaces, which is going to make it even more interesting. So I can pick this back up, and because this is gesso now, it's a non-pore surface, I can come back and kind of finagle some things. I can kind of pull some things back before it fully dries and give it some highs and lows. Okay. And then I'm going to get another towel and just kind of make sure that's dry. I'm going to hit it with my heat tool real fast. That feels dry enough. And I'm going to come back in now with my high flow, full strength on my rag, and do some darker areas. And just kind of rub it in. I need a little bit more. Just in certain spots. And really rub it in, because that really brings out the texture of the credit card that we used. All those lines and little bumps and blips and things like that happen, that's what really brings out the texture. I'll come over here and rub that out. Maybe come up here. Okay. Can you see all that texture coming out? Now, to bring the texture out even more, even though it's light texture, I've got a little bit of alcohol. And now if I rub gently over the top, it's going to give me a worn look, It's going to bring up all those ridges. Okay, look how grungy good. And I could continue to layer dark and get it darker and get it darker. But oh my goodness, I love it. Second example, palette knife. And I'm gonna do raw umber, but you don't have to use raw umber. I like to use raw umber as my base because it makes those paper spots really show up. But we'll layer another color on this one. I'm just really getting that in there. I'm going to put a little water on my brush. Okay. Get a clean spot here. Kind of pull some of that out. And the reason I bring some light in, like this, is because it adds variation. It adds differences. Not everything is the same value. Now, let's see. I don't know if I need to get this dry. Because if it's not dry, I add paint, it will pick up the paint underneath. Let's just see. Oh, that feels pretty good. So I've got some highlights and lowlights happening. And I just want to scrub it out like we did before. And you could create on like a heavier paper if you wanted to. I like working on copy paper. It's pretty sturdy considering all that it's going through, especially right now. But I like it because I can then use this as collage paper. So I'm creating texture that I can just take a part of it and put it into a project, or I can put it down just like we use this whole sheet in Rusty Bits for a background. Okay, so that's really grungy good. Love that. I'm going to come back, just a little bit of alcohol again, and just kind of see how that comes out. So good. And all these different variations between us removing paint in the first layer to the darker layer to the alcohol layer all gives it a really worn look. It gives it highs and lows and interesting bits. Okay, now what if we want more than just this? Maybe we want something that feels a little bit more rusty or a little bit, I don't know. You could even add, this would be kind of interesting too. So I have raw sienna and prism violet. You can do anything you want with your colors. So I want to water this way down because these are matte paints and I don't want them to obliterate what we've got. I want them to like highlight, add depth, add interest. So I've watered that down. I'm going to use this one and lightly pick some of that up. And yeah, I can come back and pick up as much as I want or make it as dark as I want. Look at how pretty that is. Woo! Let's just, why not? Because we can. There are no rules. And you can just continue to experiment. I'm going to add just a tiny bit. See, when this happens, oh, I better take the cap off. When this happens, there's so many ideas when we're playing and experimenting without any agenda. So many amazing things happen. Now, that's gorgeous. And what I will do is, so I have written down here what I use: palette knife, regular gesso, copy paper. Then I will put raw umber, Prism violet, raw sienna, and then alcohol, so that I know what I did to get this result. Okay, that one over there. Okay. This was the silicone shaper, right? Yeah. This one I'm excited to, I haven't done the silicone shaper this way before, so I'm excited to experiment with that. I'm going to put a little bit more raw umber out here. Now this one has more of a, so you can see how my little peek throughs of the paper, or the, you know, that kind of thing, are straight up and down. Same with, maybe not quite so much that, but you can kind of see the line coming through on those. But this one is very different, and it has more peaks and valleys with the silicone shaper. So now I'm going to put a little bit darker raw umber in there. Darken some of that up. And I try to keep the, you know, oh, I got a little bit of gesso in there, didn't I? There we go. I try to keep, like when I'm aging, I try to keep the darker parts kind of random so that it doesn't feel perfect. I'm going to take it a little darker. And I try to move the dark spots kind of around the piece. Okay, so that's so good. Now let's do some burnt sienna on this one. Or you know what? Let's not. Let's do some of, this is a vine color. Actually, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm just going to kind of make sure this is all dry. I've kind of pulled that up. See, I'm getting excited. I'm like, ooh, let's try this. Let's try this. I'm going to do some alcohol. Ooh, is that good? That reveals all those lines from the silicone shaper. And you may or may not like that. It's really, you know, up to your preference. You've got a lot of options, and there's a million other ways that you can do this. Okay, that feels good. Let's turn this over, dry this off. Okay. Okay, let's do a little green on there. Ooh, that was a lot of green. Okay, we're going to take this around. And I want, this is my matte paint, so shoot. Okay, so this is an example of when you get it too wet, what happens? It pulls up the paint because I haven't fully dried it yet. So I'm going to be careful here. That is pretty. Ooh, is that good? Okay, let's dab this up. We'll leave that like that for now. And let's put a little bit, let's just see what we can do up here. Tiny bit of green. Okay, there we go. Not all is lost. Okay, that I like. So pretty. And then I've got a little bit of like, this is a custom color. Oh, actually this is thermal. I'm gonna go with, I have like a dark teal color that I'm gonna use. And let's just kind of smush that around. I'm going to come back and lighten this up. Okay. All right, new towel. That's gorgeous, but let's lighten it up. Let's kind of pull some of that back with a little bit of alcohol. Real light. And when you're doing that, make sure to turn your towel so that you're not dragging the existing paint that you just picked up around. That feels gorgeous. It needs like a little bit down here, doesn't it? Let's just put a little bit down here. And I want to just kind of blur the lines and make sure that it doesn't feel like it feels like a big blob or a square or something like that. Make it feel a little organic. Gorgeous, gorgeous texture. Look at that one. So there's a lot of ways that, and I could put multiple colors on there to really bring some depth. And then this is the brayer. So we'll go for it the same way. Okay, so I just drug my gesso, which is typical, it's very typical of me. But now I'm kind of like, okay, how can I make that work? Everything happens for a reason. So let's try, that's not bad though. I don't mind that at all. So I'm going to bring this back over here. And let's kind of go back over this. And we'll give it a little bit more dimension. Okay. I like it. I like it. And the nice thing about the brayer is how different it feels in comparison to the other ones. How the bare spaces are very different than all the others. They each have their own unique look. Now this one has very little texture per se, because of the brayer. It has these little bits, so we won't get a whole lot of reveal of some of the hot peaks and valleys. Okay, so that feels good. And I'll do the same thing, alcohol. See, now that's cool. Reveals all that texture. Okay. I like it. Now, let's just go for the gold here. If you've been around me at all, you know magenta's my favorite color. Now, when I get it on this brown, it's going to change a little bit, and it's really pretty. So I want to make sure that this is dry. Feels dry enough. And I'm just going to come in and dab into it. And I'm just going to do little bits because, again, this paint is opaque. And there's grunge, there's different types of grunge, how we can, be grungy. It doesn't always have to be rusty and, those kinds of things. I'm just moving the paint around to give it some balance. I don't want it to feel completely like here, here, here. I just want it to feel natural, maybe organic. Magenta is probably not natural, but and then I'm just going to grab a little bit of burnt sienna and just do the same thing. Kind of go back over that. And that was a lot. Let's move that around before it dries. Okay. So I want to bring a little bit more of that in here. Okay, that feels really good. I love that. And I could just layer and layer, but I'm gonna grab my, let's make sure this is turned the right direction. I'm gonna grab a little bit of alcohol here and just kind of come back and lift again to bring back that texture, because that's really pretty in here. Look how pretty that is. Oh, just makes me so very happy. Okay, so that's our 4 examples. Okay, so our first one was just regular gesso and a credit card. Our second one was palette knife. Look at that. How pretty that is. Ugh. I mean, there's a purpose for the ease of this one and the simple layers. But when you start adding color and different lights and darks, wow, that texture stands out. The grunge really happens. And then we did this one. Yum. I could see adding a little bit more to this as well. All of them I could. But this was the palette knife. This was the silicone shaper. And then this one was the brayer. And each one has its own beauty. So then I can now take these and use these as collage paper, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a section of, in fact, I'm going to make a couple extra, I think, and use one of these for the cover of my texture journal. Wouldn't that be amazing? Simply amazing. I could even use like our examples and use them for that. Okay, sorry, getting off track. I'm going to take half of these and put them down and I'll find my favorite parts and write out my recipe so that I know, what caused this beauty. So I can put that down like that. I can cut this down a little bit more. And then I'll write out here. And then maybe I'll take this example and try it here. There's a lot of things that you can do, but having this example, then I'll turn the page and I'll put another example in there and write that out. And then I'll write what I like about it and the color or that kind of thing. I'll write all the details that I need so that when I come back to my texture encyclopedia, I will have ideas of when I'm stuck and I'm looking for something, I can come back here and go, oh, that's the one. That's what I want. So I hope this inspires you to explore the texture like we did today and so much more. There's so many other ways, different tools that you can use with just regular gesso and copy paper. That's it. And then you've got a stash of collage paper, and maybe you want to start your own texture journal where you just catalog the techniques and things that you're trying so that when you get stuck for ideas, this is where you go. That's where I go in all of my journals when I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? That's where I go, and I get ideas every single time. Maybe not the full idea, but every single time I get something. And that's what I want for my texture journal. Okay, my loves, I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you found it inspiring. Check out Rusty Bits and Creative Reset if you haven't already. And I hope your Sunday is restful and peaceful. I hope you get to explore your creativity today. It's so good for the soul. And I hope, most of all, that you always, always know that you are loved.